Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's talk. This video is particularly about the fight against CPS. For those who are obviously came across my channel or this video, have encountered any type of anything with CPS, DCFS, which stands for Department of Children and Family Services or Children Protective Services. And I wanted to tell you that you are at the right place. We are here to talk about what to do, what not to do, how to handle things, classes, how to interact with your children, how to interact with CPS, with the social worker, with the emergency worker, and it's just a bunch of things to talk about. The big question that everyone asks is, should I open the door? Well, the answer to that varies. Should I open the door? Well, if an emergency worker comes and knock on your door and he or she does not have a court order to come in, no, you do not have to open the door, and no, you do not have to allow that worker to talk to your children. Even if the worker comes and you turn that worker away and he or she say, well, I'm going to come back with the police, well, guess what? You can still say, okay, come back with the police and I'll be here waiting, because whatever he or she can or cannot do without the police, they can or cannot do with the police. So it does not matter. And if the worker does not have a court order, the police would definitely not have a court order. So yes, this is just a scare tactic that these emergency workers use against you parents to get to you and get to your children, because if they don't come in, they don't have a case. But if they do come in, they can always make up things, they can always find things to pick about and get more information from you. And that's another important thing. Please say less. If you want to open a door and you want to come outside and you do want to talk, ask questions, try to not volunteer information. That would help you in the long run, because these people are not your friend and they're just here to get things out of you to use that against you. There are two types of alleged cases. There is one that is a he say she say phone call, like if your neighbor called or a family member called and said, hey, my niece, my neighbor is beating up her kids, you guys should come, here's the address, here's their phone number. That's a he say she say. It's not much that you can do about it, and it's not much they can do about it. Now, there is also another alleged type of case where they have evidence, and evidence will be police report, school report, hospital report. Those things can hurt you in the long run. Those things do give them more right to get a court order to come in your home and to remove your children, because now they are using other people and evidence to go against. What happens if they remove my children from me? Well, the first thing I would advise you to do is enroll in classes. Enroll in classes immediately, because a lot of these classes have a waiting list and they all are mandatory. So if your kids were removed from you, and the first class that you should take, all parents take, that is parenting class. Parenting class is very important. It's a 10-week class, or between 10 to 15 weeks some classes, and it's once a week, and you must attend all classes, because if you miss one, you would have to wait all the way around until that week came. So these weeks are numbered. Let's say you have a class that has 10 weeks, 1 through 10. Okay, and you missed week 4. Well, you have to do 1, 2, 3. You missed 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then wait for 1, 2, 3, and then again for 4 to come back around. And this takes a long time, because no, they would not let you make up these classes randomly or for a fee or anything like that. Now, other classes vary by your case. So if your case is drugs, you would have to go to rehab and drug support groups and stuff like that. Again, enroll immediately. If your case is about domestic violence, if you're a victim of domestic violence and your kids were removed, make sure you enroll in domestic violence for victim classes, and so on and so on. But parenting is the main one. And as soon as you enroll in these classes, as soon as you finish these classes, this would help you with court. This will show court that you are not waiting for their approval, that you know it's mandatory. Because even if your attorney tells you in court, oh, don't worry about it, you might not have to take these classes, that's false. That is false. You would have to take these classes, at least parenting you would have to take, because 99.9% of the time, and I keep telling this to everyone, you would be found guilty. Now, just because you was found guilty does not mean that you won't get your kids. You would get your kids, but if you do everything you're supposed to. But 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, they do find parents guilty, because they do want to keep the kids. They do want you to go through their classes. This is money for the state. This is keeping their jobs. This is doing what police does by giving tickets. They're telling you're guilty by keeping you around so you can, this is like, it's like a cycle. It's a cycle. And if you happen to be unfortunate and come across these people and have to go through this process, just do what they tell you to do. And the first thing to do is another classes. Thing that I wanted to talk about is counseling. Counseling is another mandatory, what they call a class, but it's actually counseling. It's another mandatory process from the course that you would have to enroll in. So not just parenting class, counseling, and of course another class that pertains to whatever your case is about: drugs, abuse, domestic violence, alcohol, whatever you would have to enroll in. Make sure you go to your counseling, and just note that counseling is confidential. That's the only thing I could say that is confidential in this process, is talking to a counselor. And just note that your social worker, the CSW, child social worker, the assigned worker, would ask to get letters from the counselor. They would call the counselor. They would ask how you're doing. They want to make sure you're not losing your mind, that you are learning from whatever mistakes you made, and all of those things. And make sure that you let the counselor know, I'm learning my mistake. Even if it's alleged, even if you don't agree with it, even if you didn't do it, you have to show them that you have learned. One of the most important things that I like to talk about is keeping a good relationship around the people around you, with the people around you. Keeping a good relationship with the foster parents or whoever has your kids, keeping a good relationship with the social worker. By the way, the worker that would be would be removing your kids, the emergency worker, is not the same worker that would be taking and handling your case. That is an emergency worker, and the other one that will be handling your case that you will come up later is a regular social worker, CPS, what they call child CWS, I'm sorry, it's a child worker. And then in the midst of everything, you would also have an investigating worker, which is a person that would handle your case until it will get to the disposition part of the court. And once you are found guilty, then of course you would have to you won't have to deal with the investigating worker anymore. You would be assigned a regular children worker. Once you get assigned a CSW, which is a child social worker, just note that this social worker has people that work above him or her. So if that social worker is not doing his or her job, please understand that you can always go to a supervisor and ask for a different social worker. You have every right to do so. And note that that social worker is not your friend. They're there to do their job, and their job is pretty much to report everything that they know and get from the foster parent, from the kids, to the courts, and let the court handle it. They don't have as much power as people think. The only power they have is to report what they know, and if you don't give them anything bad to report, they can't tell the court anything bad about you. And note that we all have situations in our lives. So if your case was, for an example, domestic violence, and you are the victim or the victimizer, note that, after the disposition hearing where, you were found guilty, um, just let that go. Just let that go, and note that, you have to do what you have to do to get your kids back. Keep your own place, go to work, go to visitations, go to classes, and and keep a good relationship with the foster parent and the social worker, and try not to do ill on the past, so that way things can go smoother for you, because after so long it seems like they seem to forget, and now it's all about you working towards you getting your kids. So just do what you have to do to not dwell on the past, and and stay away from the bad and go towards the good. Visitations are very important. You have to keep all visitations and go to every visit on time. Show that that you have a good interaction with your child, that you love each. Everything would be reported to from the foster parent or even your family to the social worker. Especially with foster parents, they report everything and they don't have a reason to lie. So just keep a good relationship and go through to every visit, so you can show the courts that, hey, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do, because it is court mandatory to go to every visit. And here is one thing that's very important that I wanted to talk about, that a lot of people don't know about, is who should be having your children, who should be taking care of your children until you get them back. Well, it's very interesting, because a lot of people want family to have their children, which I completely understand. Who wants a stranger to, take care of their children, somebody they don't know? And it's very traumatic for the children as well. Well, I'm here to tell you that you must be careful on who in your family take your children, because those people who you think that may help you also have rights almost as much as you to keep them, and to bash you in court, and to go against you, and to make this much harder for you than an actual foster parent. A foster parent cannot keep your children. They cannot adopt them. They cannot tell the court anything but what they see on visitations, which they will report. They do report visitations. But I've heard and seen so many cases of people who wanted family to be there and take the kids, and the family fell in love with that money, with that monthly paycheck, and pretty much did it mostly for the money, because before they wouldn't care about the kids, but now they care so much that they went to court, bashed the parents, and pretty much extended that court process so they could keep the kids and get that check. But if a P3 worker, which is a worker that works with trying to assign families for the kids, comes and asks you, do you have anybody, do you want anybody to be in that child's life and take care of that child for the meanwhile, you have every right to say, no, I'm okay with the foster parents, I'm okay with where they're at. And I think that 9 times out of 10 is best to have kids in foster care, because these foster parents cannot keep your kids from you. They cannot, they have to go by the courts, you know. And if you be nice to them, if you know, cooperate with them, if you know, show them that you do care about your kids, they would actually do things against the court order. So if you get Monday and Thursday visitations, they will give you extra time, especially when it comes for the time to come home, and for the overnights and all of that. They would let your kids stay longer and for you to be with your kids longer. They're not petty like that. You know, you just got to keep a good relationship. Fake it to make it, even though I know deep inside you don't want your kids to be with a stranger. Fake it to make it until you get your kids Another back. Thing to talk about is keeping your own place. It is very important that you have your own place. DCFS, CPS, they don't play about that. It's not like people that are not involved with them, that can live with their parents and can live with their sister and brother and don't have to have a job and can just, you know, live off the government. I'm here to tell you that is not the case with them. If you ever got welfare or public assistance, this automatically will be cut off when your kids are removed from you. And they want you to get a job, and they want you to keep your place. And if you do happen to live with your mom, dad, whoever, the kids must have their own place. If it's a boy and a girl, each one must have their own room. If it's two boys, it's two boys per room. They do have rules. Why are these rules don't apply to all of us is because all of us are not involved with them. But once you get in bed with these people, you have to, you know, you have to obey by their rules, and that's just the way it works. Let's talk about court and lawyers. Well, with court, you would be, if you cannot afford a lawyer, you would be assigned a public defender that deals and is you know, went to school for those things. That public defender is not your friend. He's nothing like hiring your own private, you know, lawyer. The public defender was pretty much there to represent you, but not to defend you. There's a difference, just know that. The public defender would ask you many questions, and I suggest that whatever you won't tell your social worker, whatever you won't tell the foster parent, whatever you won't tell other people that you know would be exposed in court, don't tell your public defender anything you don't want them to know, because they would tell. They would tell the children's lawyer, they would tell the DCFS lawyer, everybody gets a lawyer, so they would tell. Now, as for court, yes, everyone has a lawyer. You get a lawyer, the father gets a lawyer, the kids gets a lawyer, the DCFS has a lawyer. Everyone has an attorney that represents them. The kids' attorney job is to protect the kids, is to, you know, make decisions for the kids. Your attorney is there to protect you and make decisions for you, and I would say pretty much speak for you more than anything. And the DCFS attorney is there to keep your kids away from you, and that's flat out the answer. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter anything, if you're on point 100%, they will still on the last court date say, well, I think the kids should stay in longer. I think the mother still has time to grow, needs time to grow, and this and that. That does not mean you won't get your kids, because ultimately the decision is left to the judge, and who really plays a big role is the kid's attorney. The kid's attorney has more say so than a DCFS attorney, and your attorney, your boyfriend, husband's attorney, and then ultimately is the judge. Just understand that. A lot of questions that I get is like, do CPS monitor phone calls? Do they do drive by your house to check what you're doing and all of these things? The answer to that is no. They don't even get paid enough to do what they're doing in the first place, let alone the state is going to pay them to drive at 9 o'clock in the evening by your house. They're not going to do that. They don't monitor phone calls. They don't go through your computer. They don't do stuff like that. There were very short cases, list of cases that did happen like that, where possibly a child has died and there were other children in the home and stuff like that. Yeah, I can understand that, but no, they don't follow you. They're not there are investigators, but they're not 24-hour investigators. They won't do that, so you don't have to worry about that. What happened after I get my kids? Well, after you get your kids, your case is not automatically closed. After you have your kids, depending on the case, your case will be open for another 3 or 6 months. And pretty much the social worker will be in your life. They will come do visitations, pop-ups, talk to the kids. And if you were on drugs, you will still do, drug testing. If you're a domestic violence victim, they want to make sure the other parent is not in the home. They would do all of those things. Their working hour usually from 9 to 5, so you would be expecting this from 9 to 5 of them popping up without calling, and and talking to the kids and all of these things. And yes, after 3 or 6 months, you will get another court date, and on that court date, your case would officially be closed if everything went smoothly. Everything must go smoothly for your case to be closed. It's not just closed because that's the court date to close the case. So just make sure that you stay on point and take care of home, take care of the kids. Do not put your hand on your kids, even if your case was not about abuse towards your children. Do not chastise your kids, because they do not believe in that. They don't agree with that. That's their rules. That's their laws. And, and you would have to, they go by timeouts and, punishments like that, but not chastising. Well, I'm pretty sure I didn't cover everything because it's a long topic. I try to cover the basics information for you guys. And if you have any questions, please leave it at the comments below. And subscribe, and give me a thumbs up, because I'm here just to help you guys. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm not here to upset anyone. I'm here to help you and to answer your questions. And if you want to, I'll leave my email below. You can email me and I can definitely help you and support you. I'm here to support you guys, because I know this is a very, very traumatic process. This is a very hard pill to swallow, and I believe you can make it. Anyone can make it if you stay dedicated and you want this. You want your kids back. Anything is possible. Thank you, guys.